Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here on our YouTube channel for episode number 893. Well, we are heading back to Conway, Missouri today, and we are going to be speaking with Skyler Storie. Let me tell you, this young man is very impressive. This young man loves livestock. He loves farm animals. He loves birds. My goodness, wait till you hear the list of the different birds he is raising on his family's farm. But everything he is doing with cattle, with livestock, and where it's led him to be a state proficiency finalist in diversified livestock. He has got an unbelievable future ahead of him. And, I get done with these interviews, and I feel like I could win a lot of money betting on where these students are going to go, and Skyler is a no-brainer. When you get done listening to this interview, you're going to realize that he is going to accomplish everything he set out to because of all that he's already accomplished only at the age of 18. So we're going to get this started for you right now. Well, joining me today is Skyler Storie, and he is coming to us from Laclede, Missouri. He just graduated last spring from Laclede County High School, where he was serving as his chapter's treasurer, and now is attending Ozark Technical College, studying animal science and pre-vet. So, Skyler, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So, have you been able to get back to, or I guess to begin college? Are you having in-person classes, or how's that all working for you?
I chose to do the online route because I didn't really want to be around a whole lot of people during this virus.
Sure.
So, but there are some seated classes still at OTC for right now, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, very good. Well, good for you. So, have you started classes already?
Yes, I'm enrolled in 4 different classes: history classes, philosophy, and then, what's the other one? I can't think of what the other one even is.
It must be very exciting. No, I started out animal science pre-vet myself, and it's funny, you're all ready to go and get into the ag, but there's a lot of classes like I took philosophy. Matter of fact, I took 2 philosophy classes along the way as electives just to knock out some requirement somewhere. It wasn't anything I ever thought I would do, but it was kind of interesting. Yeah, well, very good. Well, good for you. Well, so how is Missouri faring this week? Are you guys kind of slowing down with the coronavirus and kind of working your way back towards normal?
Well, where I'm at, it's actually kind of ramping back up.
Oh, it is. Oh,
because,
no.
Yeah, some of our neighbors are starting to get it around where we live, and then I believe some people at the school are starting to get it now, so I don't. It died down, and now it's picking back up.
Oh, this thing! I hope that I'm in Idaho. I hope it doesn't happen here, but we're kind of slowing down. Hopefully, it stays that way. But man, it sure messes things up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably an understatement. Well, very cool, Skyler. Well, let's do this. I'd love to ask you about you. So when when you're at home doing your classes and stuff like that, are you in town or are you on a farm or something like in the middle of those two?
I'm on a farm. We live probably 10, 15 minutes from Conway, Missouri. And they're out in pretty close, not really the middle of nowhere because we do have a blacktop road at least. So it's right on the farm, and when I'm not doing classes, most usually I am doing farm work after I get done with my classes all day.
Okay. So I said earlier you're in Laclede, Missouri, but you're in Conway, Laclede County, right?
Yeah, Laclede County, Conway, Missouri.
And so, I mean, that sounds pretty highfalutin out there on your farm. You guys have blacktop.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
Very fancy. Good for you. Yeah, I miss the days of living out on a dirt road where it wasn't paved, because that just means not a lot of traffic, not a lot of folks. But that's fun. What kind of farming does your family do there?
Right now we have right around 400 head of mama cows. That's just the cows. We will wean 100, anywhere from 120 to 100. Last year we weaned 153. Here we will in not this weekend, but next weekend we'll wean. And then we have right around 25 bulls to go on all those cows.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they're all beef cows.
Okay. And are you doing like a commercial cow-calf type of operation or registered? What do you guys do?
Myself, I'm going registered Horned Hereford myself.
Cool.
And I have there'll be 20 some of them bred or calving this year, and then not to mention the bulls and the heifers I'll keep this year. And then we also have commercials, which are so many different breeds: Angus, Brangus, Red Angus, Beefmasters, F1 Tiger Stripes, F1 Baldies, Black Herefords, everything.
Okay.
Just about.
Very good. And you said you had 400 mother cows on the place, but you were weaning 150 calves. Do you wean in batches? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
We will wean. That is mostly the older cows, mostly. And then the heifers, we have them calve about a month to 2 months after the cows. And then we will wean another pretty good sized group after that, and then we'll wean a fall group.
Got
also.
it. Okay, so you're doing it in 3 different stages.
Yep.
Man, that is a lot of dust and a lot of balling for a long time if you're going to do it in multiple stages like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have quite that many cattle here in my place in Idaho, but when it comes time for weaning, there's several nights of at least that we wean close to the house. Maybe that's a mistake. Several nights of no sleep.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Now, are you guys separating them off, or are you using some of those tools they've got where you can stop them from sucking, but they still get to be with mama?
What we do is, like, here this weekend, we will go and we'll vaccinate and give all our calves our first round of shots, as many groups as we can this weekend. We might get them all.
Okay.
And then next weekend, we'll catch them and wean them and bring them straight to the house. And we have our own set of scales at our corral at our house where we can weigh each individual calf to find out how good the cow is weaning off. Each individual cow is weaning. How big a calf? How good is she doing this year?
Okay.
What bulls are doing the best also?
Okay. So you're getting all your weaning weights. And then you wean, I'm assuming, by separating them completely. A total physical separation? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. How long is... Oh, go ahead.
Yes, but this year we will also change that because we're constantly doing something different most usually.
Okay.
We will have some that will be fence line weaned.
Okay.
In certain places.
Okay. Why are you guys making that change? Why do you want to try that?
Well, we've sectioned off lots of corrals at the house. I think we have 6 different pins that we can separate calves on.
Okay. And
we usually do that according to size of gain to make sure we can special treat the calves that aren't doing very well and section them off on their own. But we've continued to section off, but we want to get it where we can give them more room to have, that way they're not as cramped and they can have more room to freely move around and, do better for them.
Mm-hmm. And when you say you're fence line weaning, does that mean that the calf is just going to be separated from its mother just from like a barbed wire fence or a field fence or something like that? Okay.
Yeah.
So that way they can still smell them, get up next to them, all of that. They just can't nurse.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we do the same, and the reason we do it is to try and minimize stress, and try and keep that calf from catching something, from getting a pneumonia or scours or something late because of the stress of the weaning. Is that part of your guys' rationale?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting stuff. How long has this farm been in your family?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. I know we've been weaning since '99.
Okay.
And they've owned it and Mom and Dad owned it several years before that. and my mother's family owned it before that.
Okay.
We would be getting close to a century farm, I would think. We're getting pretty close. I don't know exactly when, but
Gotcha.
shouldn't be too far off.
So it goes back in the family a ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And, it's fascinating to me. We're on our farm here in Idaho, but my wife and I bought it. And so we don't have that family lineage on our place. And I always think it would be really fascinating to have it passed from generation to generation and keep going. So that is great. Now, let's talk about the FFA for a minute. So you are done with high school. How many years did you spend in the FFA?
It started in junior high, and I stayed in it ever since.
Okay, so you were able to join in 7th or 8th grade?
I think you're not technically a member until 8th grade, I think.
Okay.
If I might be wrong on that, so.
Gotcha, but you were getting involved, it sounds like, in 7th grade.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Well, what brought you in? Why did you want to join?
Well, I knew the teachers beforehand. I knew Mr. Stratton beforehand because my family had known him, and actually, they had kind of traded a horse or two before, so they knew him pretty well. And so I just, got in there, and I had all these animals and whatnot, and so I kind of thought it would be really nice to kind of keep going with that and have someone who could help me take that farther and help me better represent it and organize it.
Okay. Well, you did it for 6 years, so it must have paid off. You must have made the right decision.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you decided to become an officer. You wound up your time there in your FFA chapter as the treasurer. Why did you want to run for office and be a chapter officer?
Oh, if you are officer, it's not that, you get a little bit more of your voice heard, just a little bit.
Okay.
And you can kind of put some of the things you want to see happen in the chapter. You can get your voice, make it get heard a lot more clearly, and you can make it happen if you're an officer a little bit easier than you can if you're just a member.
Very cool. Okay. So you had some ideas, and you wanted to find a way to get some of those across.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you.
Very much so.
Good for you. That's great. Can you remember what some of those things were that you wanted to do?
Yeah. I actually tried to get the school to take some of the FFA's money and invest it in like in the CD.
Okay.
But the only problem with that is the FFA's money is tied in with the school, and that you can't do that. I found out.
Okay.
I found out later on.
Still, though, it's an innovative idea.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. You wanted to take that money and put it into a CD. What was the rationale behind that? Why did you want to do that?
Well, I mean, they already have their money sitting there, and it's not doing a whole lot. If you take it and you invest it, your money can be making you something while it's sitting there, not just, making you a penny or two a day. It can be making more than that and giving you back more.
Yeah, that is really forward thinking. So you could grow the money, and then that would offer more opportunities for you and your chapter to do things in the community or go to things like the Washington Leadership Conference, National Convention, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That is great. Well, good thinking on your part. And let me ask you this, because a lot of people will come up with ideas and then they won't propose them because maybe they're afraid to put them out. They think, maybe they just don't have any faith in their own idea. They don't think it's worth anything. You proposed this idea. It was shot down. They said, no, we can't do it. There's legal restrictions, and so we can't invest money from the FFA chapter. Was that horrible? Or did you go, okay, didn't know that, and moving on?
I mean, I thought, it kind of disappointed me, but
Sure.
I mean, it didn't stop me. I just
Yeah.
decided, well, if we can't do that, then we can try to make our get more donations and ramp up on things like that and do better for donations. And so that's what we did.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I'm asking you that is so often when somebody's got an idea but they fail to act on it, and they come to somebody like me for advice, and they say, well, what should I do? I've got this idea, but I'm afraid to do anything about it. I always ask them, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? Now, in your in your case, if I had asked you that and said, what's the worst thing that could happen, you would have probably said they might say no. And in your case, they did say no, and it wasn't catastrophic. You lived through it, and you're on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
The thing I hear a lot is the things you regret most in life are the chances you never take.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what you do. You take the chances.
I agree, and I don't know if investing your chapter's money in a CD would have been that big a deal to you later in life, but here's one thing I can say and be relatively confident in, and that is that at some point later in life, I don't think you're going to ever regret the fact that you proposed this idea and it didn't work out. But had you never proposed it, you might have looked back later in life and regretted not trying it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good for you. That I'd like to hear that you did that. I like to hear that you kind of thought outside the box and said, "Hey, why aren't we considering doing this?" And you as were you a senior, a junior? How old were you when you proposed this?
I may have been. I think I was a freshman.
Okay.
Actually.
All right. So a freshman. But that's even better. So as a freshman in high school, you're willing to go to the adults and say, "Why don't we do this with our money?" When a lot of people would go, "That's something adults deal with, not freshmen in high school." But you were bold enough to go do that, and I think it's great. It bodes well for your future, Skyler. I don't think there's any question about that. Well, let's do this. I'd love to acknowledge your FFA advisors. Could you let us know who those folks are for you?
Yes, Joseph Stratton and Marianne Keck.
All right. Well, thank you very much for acknowledging both of them. Really appreciate it. And then, Skyler, I'm going to take a moment just to talk about a couple of our great sponsors here. Everybody, I want to start off with Lacrosse Footwear. You can find them over at lacrossefootwear.com. I love to mention these folks when we do our FFA episodes because they are so proud to support the FFA by annually sponsoring $25,000 in scholarships and jackets as part of the Give the Gift of Blue program. I use their Alpha Range boots here on my farm in Idaho every single day of the year. Hey, we want you to do the same, and you will not be sorry. Head on down to your local feed and seed supplier, wherever you buy your work clothing for your farm, and pick up a pair of Lacrosse boots. You will be very happy, and your feet will be dry, warm, and comfortable. And then, of course, Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment, just a great and historic company in the large livestock sector of agriculture. Out here in the West, developing livestock handling equipment for well over 80 years with some of the hardest to deal with cattle we have in the United States coming in off of our public rangelands. We've got our own Powder River squeeze chute and Powder River cattle panels here on our farm in Idaho, and we want you to do the same. Let your local farm and ranch retailer know you want to see that Powder River green out in their sales yard, so you can also have the finest in livestock handling equipment. And then, Skyler, I understand you've got some Powder River green on your farm there in Missouri.
Yes, our corral that we've had at the house that's been around forever, as long as I can remember. It is a Powder River tub and alley system. Very
cool. You know, that's funny that you talk about it's been around forever and as long as you can remember. When it comes to Powder River, I've got the same exact thoughts. I grew up in the Central Valley of California, and in the foothills there's a lot of cattle raised. And, you know, even though I wasn't raising cattle when I was a kid or involved in raising cattle when I was a kid, I still remember Powder River. It's just one of those brands that's been in my mind ever since like the 1970s, 1980s when I was a kid, just riding around, and everywhere we went, everybody we knew who raised cattle, they all had Powder River. It's just kind of been ever present, and it sounds like it's been ever present for you as well.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah, very cool. Well, thank you for chiming in on that. I love to hear when one of my guests is using the products that we're so proud to promote here on the show. Well, let's talk about your supervised agricultural experience. So we know you're deep into the cattle business, but I've got written down in my notes that your SAE is diversified livestock. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what else besides cattle?
I raise pigs and I sell them. I raise them out, fatten them out for people to butcher. Then I raise ducks, geese, chickens, guineas, turkeys, peacocks, pigeons, and then this fall, actually, I'm going to add a pair of buffalo.
Wow. Okay. Hold on a minute. That's going to take me a minute to write all this down. I'm just going to write lots of fowl. That's a lot of birds.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the list of the birds again?
Ducks, geese, chickens, guineas, turkeys, peacocks, pigeons.
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right, we got a lot to talk about here. Let's start with the cattle because you've already kind of touched on the cattle a little bit. So you've got your own herd of Horned Herefords, and they're registered. Is that right?
Yes. That's just been something my grandfather actually, and my dad's father actually had raised registered Herefords. His were pulled though.
Okay.
And had for years. And I just always remember hearing about that. And then, but I'm a horn guy. I really like horns on cattle for some reason.
Okay.
And so in 2013, which I would have been, I think I was 10, I went and I bought my very first registered Horned Hereford bull. And then but I couldn't find any horned cows.
Okay.
Out here in Missouri, I couldn't find any horned breeders that I, really liked.
Okay.
And so I went and I found them. It took me forever to find them. I think a year or two just to find them.
Okay.
And I went to Olean Brothers out in Dwight, Kansas, and I bought me 3 registered Horned Hereford heifers. And I called them. And I talked to Arden Olean, and we're really good friends now.
Okay.
And I asked him if he could buy me some, and I think I told him $2,300 for a price limit, and he couldn't buy me some because they brought like $2,800 or something like that.
Okay.
Or $3,200. It was ridiculous what they brought.
Okay.
And because there wasn't very many at that sale was the reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called me back and he said, Skyler, I really want to help you. I'm gonna make you a deal. He said, we have some extra fall heifers. We kept a few too many. I'll let you pick out any 3 you want out of the entire herd that are bred to our registered high dollar bulls, which one was a $250,000 bull.
Wow.
And so I was just astonished. So we couldn't go up there. So he picked me out 3 half sisters and brought them to me, and I really did really good with them. And then I've continued to buy cows from them, which makes up the base of my registered herd.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've also got a Canadian Line 1 bull that I bought from E.T. Herefords in northern Missouri. And then I have one of Olean Brothers bulls that I bought from them. And then I kept a yearling bull off. There was a huge Hereford dispersal of like 500 head last year of the Laporte Herefords, and I bought 2 cows, and I kept both their kids, a bull and a heifer. And I bred the bull to the heifers this year. And then my cows are mostly Olean Brothers, but there's some Horned Hereford genetics and some Jameson Hereford genetics, Churchill in there some, and that makes up the basis of them, anyways.
Interesting.
And then, and commercial-wise, there's some Herefords and Hereford Beefmaster crosses, and then I also have 3 Longhorns that I kept before I sold out and started getting Herefords, and they have 6-foot spreads at least, probably bigger.
Wow.
That I've kept. Yeah. 2 cows and 1 steer.
Okay. Okay, so
then,
you really like horned animals.
Oh yeah. Before before I started getting Herefords, I had my herd was Longhorns. That's what it was. That's what I started with originally.
Okay.
And I had a lot of people. They told me you can't make money with Longhorns, and that really aggravated me because I really liked them. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to do this. I'm going to prove them wrong.
Okay.
And so I ended up, I had like 20 head of them, and they were, I mean, all different sizes, shapes, colors, and horn length, you know. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to find the bull that works best on them, and I'm going to keep breeding until I finally get something that's going to make me some money.
Okay.
I bred them to Angus, Black Gelby, Beefmaster twice, Horned Hereford twice, Charolais, Red Angus, and I think a couple other things in between. And the Charolais worked the best. And that would make me I could wean off calves anywhere from 600 to 700 pounds, and they would sell for $900 to $1,000 depending on the year and the color coat, anyways. And but my average Longhorn cow would only cost me $550.
Okay.
And so, but when I sold them here a couple years ago, I sold the breds for $800 a piece, and I sold the cow calf pairs for $900 a piece. and made out extremely well.
Good for you, man.
With all of them.
Good for you. What got you fired up? Like, why did you want to prove people wrong?
Because they were telling me that, they were telling me to my face that I couldn't make money, that I could not do it.
Okay. With
them. And so I was like, there's got to be a way. Really.
Okay.
I would think there's thousands of different, hundreds of different breeds of cattle out there. Surely one of the bulls will work on these cows.
Yeah.
To make money.
Huh. That's funny. That I really admire you for that. And, because that's where a lot of greatness comes from, is when somebody tells you can't do something, you set out to prove them wrong. But I sit here as an older person, too, and go, well, that's kind of a double-edged sword, because sometimes those people giving you that advice are right. You got to be careful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you found a way. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, the Horned Herefords, they're kind of old school, and I like that too. I have pulled Herefords myself, and I like not having to fuss with the horns, but I love the look of a Horned Hereford. I think that's a really, really good looking cow, good looking bull.
Yeah, I've just always appreciated it. The one thing that I have ran into is not a lot of people know how to make the horns on the bulls go down.
Okay.
That was one of the problems I ran into when I got them.
Okay.
And we had to just try it on our own. We had no idea how to do it. We bought some horn weights and put on the bull, and we just guessed.
Okay.
We just took a wild stab at it and decided, hey, we'll just take them off. We left him on them about 6 months. And then when they were about at a V angle on his head, we thought, well, that looks good enough. And it worked perfect.
It worked. Oh, good. Good. Good for you. Well, and speaking of your affinity for horned animals, so you got 2 buffalo coming. They got some horns on them.
Yes. One of my friends that I have known in my entire life that lives right in Conway, he has, right by the park, he has a herd of buffalo, always has.
Okay.
And he gave me some of my first chickens to be when I was very, very young. And we've always been really good friends. And he had always told me if I ever wanted some, I could get some. But my mom never would let me have them.
Okay.
And she finally didn't say no. So I took that as a yes, and I'm gonna get some.
Okay. Do you have to alter any of your corrals or anything like that to raise buffalo?
We not at the house.
Okay.
At the house we have it's piped in and everything. Very large corral. So the only thing we will do is build a new pipe fence out in our field so they will have a field to roam in.
Okay. All right. And so why do you want some of your own? What do you want to do with them?
I just want them to stand out there and look at. That's really all I want. I've always wanted some.
Okay.
I just want them to stand out there and look at them.
All right. After a hard day's work, you want to lean on the fence and you want to look out at buffalo.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, good. That's awesome. You obviously love livestock, so that is great. You'll have to keep us updated and send me a picture when you get them out there, when you get to look at them.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. Now, all these birds, what is going on with these birds? What are you doing there?
I don't know. I've just always been a sucker for birds. I started when I was 4, and I started with bannies and all different kinds of birds, and I've always expanded it. And I have probably right around 100 birds or more, 100 chickens, just chickens more.
Okay.
But birds, there's probably 300. That's a rough guess.
Wow.
Most usually right around 300 birds. The turkeys, we eat them. We'll eat the guineas if they get mean or something. We'll eat them. Not usually. The geese, I just eat their eggs. The chickens, I eat the eggs. The ducks, we've ate them, and we collect eggs. And then the peacocks, I will start selling them. But I have ate peacock before by accident.
Okay.
That is a funny story. I was feeding one day, and the peacock was sitting on the roost, and I guess I startled it when I poured the feed in the feeder, and it jumped up and smacked its head on the roof and killed it.
Okay.
It was just, so I didn't, you don't waste things on a farm.
Right.
And the peacock wasn't sick, and it was a young male peacock, so I thought, I've never eaten peacock, I'm going to try it.
Okay.
So we plucked it and cooked it whole, and it was the best thing I've ever ate. Better than turkey. Yeah,
really?
It was amazing. Yeah.
Interesting. So peacock for dinner.
Yeah.
That is interesting. So you've got all these birds. Do you have coop space for all these birds, or do they just free roam and find their own shelter?
Yes. The original farm or whatever, the old chicken coop that whatever family member built it, I can't remember, is still on the place.
Okay.
And me and my father, when I was probably 5 or 6, we went, when I was really getting a lot of birds, we went down there and revamped it. Just kind of fits the doors and the windows and things and the nest boxes. And then I've used that. Plus I have I have a very large run pen, several buildings, but most usually I free range them. I let them out almost every day and then shut them up every night.
Okay. But they're free ranging during the day.
Yeah.
You have much trouble with predators?
I did for a long time, but I got some great Pyrenees dogs. Okay. And they have really, I don't have to shut them up at night anymore. I hadn't then, but I'm hatching out so many birds right now. I thought I better start doing that again.
And are you hatching them out in an incubator, or are you just letting the birds take care of it?
I let the birds do it for me. I used to do it in the incubator, but I got tired of doing that.
Uh-huh.
It's just so much to do.
Yeah.
With it, but I've got my own group of banny chickens or bantam chickens, whatever you want to call them.
Uh-huh.
And those are what I found to be the best setting chickens, and so I just use a group. I have probably 20 or 30 of them that I use, and just put eggs underneath them, and they hatch them for me.
Is that right? Interesting. And then they'll raise them for you.
Yeah, they'll raise. I mean, you don't have to put a chicken under a chicken. A lot of people think that, but you don't have to.
Okay.
It'd probably be better if you did, but I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to.
So that's interesting. So are you putting like a leghorn egg underneath the banty, and then the Banty raises it for you, but you've got a larger layer.
Yeah, I've had some of my Banties hatch guineas and raise them and just treat them just like chickens. I mean, and then I've had ducks hatch chickens and all different kinds of stuff. I had a chicken hatch peacocks one time.
And when you say the Banties are good sitters, so is it a certain time of year? Like, is it just in the spring where they'll start sitting on a nest?
Most usually it's just in the spring, but I do have some of them that want to set all year round for some reason. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. They just think they need to be setting year round.
Okay. And so do they actually make their nests and sit on the eggs in the laying boxes, or are they doing it like on the floor of the coop?
It depends on the bird.
Okay.
Some of them will use the nest. Some of them are a little smarter, but some of them are also sneaky. And they'll go out there in the barn and they'll make a nest without me knowing, and then they'll hatch them, and then they'll come out of the barn with a bunch of babies.
Okay. That is super interesting. So we've been messing with it here, and we've been incubating some eggs, but I would love to do it that way and let them raise them for us. That'd be a great way to do that. So when you find a Banty and she's got a nest already, how many eggs does she already have under
her? Most usually those little hens lay a lot.
Okay.
Some of them have had up to 20 or 25 eggs underneath them, and they'll be out way past the bird. Some of them will be, but they just keep laying. I don't know. They don't know how to count, I guess.
And so how many eggs can you sneak under them?
Some of my birds are bigger than others, so that kind of depends. But most usually I try to keep, 10 to 15 underneath them.
Okay.
That way they're not. But if the eggs are sticking out past the bird, I don't want to do that, so I downsize.
Okay. And do you ever replace some of the Banty eggs with other eggs you want to have them raise?
Yes, I will do that a lot, quite often.
Okay. Yeah, I'm asking you a ton about this because I'm fascinated with this. I would love to grow our flock, and you're putting some ideas in my head right now, Skyler. My wife may want to call you and complain when this is all over.
Yes.
That is great. I'm going to have to try that. I've never saw a reason to keep, Banties around. They're so small. But this makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
The entire reason I have them is for this. Because their eggs are so small, you got to take like 3 or 4 of them to make you a real good scrambled egg or something.
Right.
So I have actually started to take my Banties and selectively breed them.
Okay.
Because I've found a specific kind I like best.
Okay.
But it's made up of no telling how many other different furs. I don't know what it even is. I've just picked the roosters and the hens that look the same.
Okay.
To try to make my own.
Very interesting. All right, so you obviously have a love for livestock, a love for animals in general, and you're majoring in animal science and you're going into pre-vet. So what is it about being a veterinarian that attracts you to that career?
Actually, if I would have went this summer, this would have been my 8th summer riding with a vet.
Okay.
Because last summer and all the summers before would have been 7 years of going with the vets at Marshfield Vet Clinic, and riding along with them and experiencing, getting to learn from them firsthand, what they do on a day-to-day basis. And it's really got me hooked.
Very cool. So how did you get started with that first ride with the vet? What led you to the first time to go do that?
I wanted to years before I could, but they told me I had to be 10 years old before I could go.
Okay.
So I had known all the vets for a long time because they would be out at the house doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got my first cow from Vince Caldwell, one of the main vets up there at Marshfield Vet Clinic.
Okay.
And so when I turned 10, Vince told me I could just come and ride with him, and so I would go.
Okay.
Almost like every other day or something, I would go up there and tag along and hand him things and learn.
That is great. So you've been doing ride-alongs with veterinarians for 8 years now, and that's the direction you're heading with your career. So I'm assuming you want to be a large animal vet, but maybe I shouldn't assume that.
I'll do both. But I'd prefer large animals, but small animal is where the money's at.
Right. Yeah.
So
the combination of the two, maybe.
Yeah.
That is great, Skyler. Man, you are teaching me a lot today. This has been a valuable interview for me to conduct. I got a lot I want to try here on my own place. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. One more question before I get to my final question. Do you is your farm or your ranch, I don't know if you call it a farm or a ranch there where you're at in Missouri, but is that a type of operation where you're going to be able to come back to that and continue working on your family's farm? Or is that something where you're going to have to go and start your own because there's not enough room at home for you to come back?
Where I'm at, I will end up, the family farm. I'm already running the entire thing. When my father's on his concrete business,
okay,
I'm running it. So I will come back and take it over. But where my cattle are at, I have no room to expand.
Okay.
Because my father went ahead, he let me have 2 rental properties where I can have, up to, I can run around 40 to 50 big cows.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've maxed them out everywhere.
Okay.
I actually have cows running on him. So right where we're at, there's not a lot of property. There hasn't been property coming up for sale. So I can't expand what I want, my own personal cows.
Gotcha. So there's going to be more land leased or bought in the future for you.
Hopefully.
Okay. Very cool. Well, one last question. I want to ask you about this. What do you love about, I guess, agriculture and this lifestyle?
Oh, my. I think one of the things I really like is teaching someone that doesn't know a lot about it. I really like doing that. I have given several farm tours to college students and to even a church group one time.
Mm-hmm.
Of our farm, and it's very interesting to people that some of them had never even had a pet dog before. And it's very it's very nice to, let them experience that and teach them something along the way while they're there, and talk about it, and hopefully spread that passion where, they'll think differently when they go to the supermarket, or hopefully think of the farmer as something that is needed and will always be needed, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is great. So you like to teach other people as well.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Well, Skyler, it has been a pleasure to get to know you and to hear about everything you're doing there in Missouri. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with us today.
Yeah, I was great to do this.
Well, thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you to Skyler Storie for coming on and sharing that story with us today. Really enjoyed getting to know him and all the ideas. I'm going to try that bantam chicken deal. Get some bantams and let them start hatching chickens for us. I'm going to try that. And so really thrilled to speak with him and get those great ideas from him today. And hey, everybody, as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.